In the corporate world, the skills required to climb the middle ranks differ entirely from those needed at the top. The intense, solo drive that makes someone a star contributor eventually stalls their ascent. Arjun S., a senior manager at a global IT firm, lived this reality. He was technically brilliant, the ultimate fixer who always had the answer. Yet he was unexpectedly passed over for a C-suite role he was objectively qualified to hold. After a stakeholder meeting went sideways, Arjun focused on his delivery. He believed the problem was speed and vocabulary, that he simply needed to explain his ideas better to win the room over. Arjun was missing a hard ceiling in his own leadership logic. Early in a career, being the smartest person in the room is valuable currency. At the senior level, it becomes a barrier to entry. Moving into the C-suite requires tearing down the operating system that created your initial success. It is a complete rewiring of how a leader occupies space. To bridge the gap between Arjun's perception and reality, executive coach Sudhakar Reddy Gade uses audio forensics. Instead of role plays, this approach analyzes real-world field recordings of stakeholder meetings to score communication across 9 specific dimensions. This data reveals CPU overload, routing every detail and decision through a single internal processor. Arjun's baseline showed an I-to-we ratio of 5.6 to 1, the owning outcomes and calcifying this unconscious reflex. The transition to an executive architect begins by shifting the unit of analysis. A leader must move their focus from demonstrating their own thinking to expanding the team's capacity to think. To see this in practice, we can look at the anatomy of a single executive steering committee meeting Arjun recorded. This waveform maps a 90-second sequence where Arjun's old habits surfaced. These jagged spikes represent moments where he answered unasked questions, over-explained points that had already landed, and defensively preempted objections that never came. Listening to the playback, Arjun reached a turning point. He realized he had been so busy proving his competence that he missed the actual needs of the room. He applied this realization during a subsequent cross-functional planning call, focusing on the space he left for others. During that call, Arjun asked a question and deployed a deliberate 23-second silence, breaking his lifelong habit of filling conversation gaps. That silence created the necessary void for 3 other team members to step in. They contributed the ideas that ultimately formed the go-forward plan, co-creating a solution rather than merely receiving one. This is the discipline of executive presence, withholding your own voice to allow the collective intelligence of the room to materialize. By the end of his rewiring process, Arjun's I-to-we ratio dropped to 2.2. His scores for emotional regulation and EQ in action moved from the low 3s to above 4. In thermodynamics, a dissipative structure maintains its order by continuously exchanging energy with its environment. This physics concept provides a model for high-level leadership. A leader acting as a closed system becomes brittle. Like this sealed sphere deflecting input, internal pressure builds to a breaking point. But when the leader becomes a dissipative structure, the system becomes permeable. They exchange cognitive load, expanding into an interconnected network. Arjun now operates as an organizational architect. His presence alone changes the altitude at which the team holds a problem, shifting his value from fixing systems to defining them. If someone ran the numbers on your last 5 high-stakes conversations, what would the data reveal? Would the I-to-we ratio and the length of your silences prove you are an architect designing the field or just a contributor running plays?